Welcome to the 5 natural ways to eliminate stubborn microwave odors. From burnt popcorn to fish without harsh chemicals.
Yeah, we are tackling a big one today.
We really are, because you know the feeling. You walk into your kitchen, maybe it's early in the morning, the sun is just coming up.
Right, you're barely awake.
Exactly, you're just trying to heat up your coffee,
Mm.
or maybe you're rushing to make a quick lunch between meetings, and you pull the handle on that little microwave door, and boom.
Oh, it's the worst.
You are physically assaulted by the ghost of last night's reheated salmon. Or like, worse, that popcorn you accidentally left in for 45 seconds too long, 3 days ago.
Yeah, it's a completely visceral, day-ruining experience. It hits you like a wall.
It really is a wall. Why does it hit so hard, though? Like, why is a microwave smell so much worse than just a regular kitchen smell?
Well, it's an absolute wall of atmospheric trauma, honestly. And the reason it hits you so hard, the reason that smell feels so incredibly concentrated, actually comes down to the fundamental engineering of the appliance itself.
Okay, wait, what do you mean by the engineering?
So a microwave is, by design, a Faraday cage.
A Faraday cage.
Yeah, a Faraday cage. It is a completely enclosed, electromagnetically sealed metal box. And it's designed to trap high-frequency radio waves.
Right, so the microwaves don't, like, cook us while we stand there.
Exactly. But an unfortunate byproduct of trapping those waves so perfectly is that it also perfectly traps humidity, aerosolized fats, and odor molecules.
Oh, wow. So every single time something splatters or, every time a bowl of soup evaporates just a little too aggressively, those microparticles of food literally have nowhere to go.
Nowhere at all. They hit the walls, they hit the ceiling, that little glass plate, and they just stay there.
And then the next time you turn the machine on, you are essentially baking those smells directly into the plastic and metal.
Yep, every single time you use it.
I mean, I look at a dirty microwave as this, like, gross time capsule of a person's worst culinary mistakes.
That's highly accurate, actually.
Yeah. Right. And today, our mission is to figure out how to finally erase that history. For you, the listener, we're going to fix this.
And the time capsule analogy is incredibly apt because of a chemical process called polymerization.
Polymerization, that sounds intense.
It is, kind of. When fats and proteins from your food splatter onto the walls of the microwave, and then you repeatedly heat them day after day, they actually cross-link.
Wait, cross-link, like they bond together?
Exactly. They form this hard, resinous matrix that actually bonds to the interior surfaces.
Ugh, the resinous matrix of old food. That's disgusting.
It's gross, yeah. But that's why you can't just, wipe a paper towel over a 3-day-old spaghetti splatter and expect it to disappear. It has practically become one with the appliance.
Which brings us to the core dilemma we're exploring in this deep dive. We need to aggressively clean the exact enclosed environment where we prepare our food.
Right, which is tricky.
Very tricky. Because the idea of reaching under the sink, grabbing some bottle of heavy synthetic industrial chemical solvent, and just spraying it into the box where I'm about to heat up my oatmeal, that is incredibly unappealing.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I really don't want a side of synthetic bleach vapor with my breakfast,
Nor should you. You really don't want to replace the smell of burnt popcorn with the smell of, volatile organic compounds and artificial floral perfumes.
No, definitely not.
The goal here isn't just to mask the smell. The goal is to eradicate the source entirely.
So to figure out how to actually do that, we're analyzing a really fascinating piece from The Spruce by Farima Ferguson.
Yeah, it's a great article.
It really is. She consulted with several professional cleaners who actually understand the chemistry of natural solvents. So we're going to break down 5 completely natural, highly effective methods to dismantle these odors.
Using basic household ingredients you likely already have sitting around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just stuff in your pantry or fruit bowl. So let's start with what is easily the most pleasant-smelling approach. We're skipping the chemical aisle entirely and going straight to the fruit bowl.
The citrus method? I love this one.
It's so good. The source material outlines a method using citrus steam, specifically harnessing a lemon. And the physical process they describe is incredibly straightforward.
Walk us through it.
Okay, so you take a regular lemon, you slice it in half, and you squeeze the juice into a microwave-safe bowl.
Right.
Then, and this is a really fun detail, you don't throw the rinds away. You toss those squeezed lemon halves straight into the bowl of juice.
Which is crucial. That step with the rinds is actually the secret engine of this entire process,
Hmm.
which we can get into the chemistry of in a moment.
Oh, I definitely want to hear about the chemistry, but
Oh,
let
yeah.
me lay out the rest of the physical steps first for everyone.
Go for it.
So you have your juice and your rinds in the bowl. You add about 1 cup of water, place the bowl in the microwave, and heat it on high for 3 to 5 minutes until the water is visibly boiling.
Yep. Get a good roll and boil.
But here is the critical instruction, like the part most people get wrong.
Yeah.
You do not open the door when the timer goes off.
Do not open it.
Right. You let that bowl sit inside the closed microwave for a few minutes to let the steam really work. Then you carefully remove the hot bowl and wipe down the interior.
The mechanics happening inside that little sealed box while you're just standing there waiting are genuinely fascinating.
What's actually happening in there?
Well, the article quotes Alicia Sokolowski. She's the president and co-CEO of AspenClean, and she highlights that lemons contain both citric acid and natural oils.
Okay.
This initiates a really powerful two-pronged chemical and mechanical attack on that polymerized grease we were just talking about.
So we are sending in like a highly coordinated tactical team, not just a nice smell.
Exactly the opposite of just a nice smell. It's active demolition. First, you have the citric acid from the juice. Citric acid is a weak organic acid, and it is phenomenal at breaking down the alkaline molecules that make up many unpleasant kitchen odors.
So it alters the pH environment.
Exactly, it drops the pH. But the real heavy lifter is the natural essential oil found primarily in the rind of the lemon. That's why you keep the rinds.
Oh, so that's why we threw them in the bowl.
Yes. That oil is a compound called D-limone.
D-limone. Wait, I've actually seen that listed on the back of eco-friendly cleaning products, haven't I?
You definitely have, yeah. Because it is a spectacularly effective natural solvent. D-limone is a terpene, and it's chemically structured in a way that allows it to basically dissolve fats, oils, and grease.
Wow. Okay, so when you boil that water,
When you boil it, you are actively extracting the D-limone from the rinds and vaporizing it right alongside the citric acid.
hold on, I'm picturing this whole process and a glaring question comes to mind.
What's that?
If the lemon has the acid to fight the smells, and the rind has this magical D-limone stuff to dissolve the grease, why am I going through the trouble of making a water bath and boiling it? Like, why wouldn't I just cut a lemon in half and vigorously scrub the walls of the microwave with the fruit itself?
Oh, okay. Think about the actual topography of the inside of your microwave.
The topography.
Yeah, it is not just a smooth, flat cube, right? You have the tiny ventilation grates on the side.
Oh, Joe.
You have the track where the little plastic reels, the turntable roll around. You have the hinges of the door. And you have the ceiling, which is just a terrifying, neglected landscape of ancient soup splatters.
The ceiling of the microwave is where appetites go to die. Seriously, it's an upside-down horror show. Nobody looks up.
It truly is a horror show. And if you just take a lemon half and scrub, you're really only treating the prominent, flat surfaces. You are missing every microscopic crevice, every vent, and that entire complex ceiling structure.
That makes total sense. So the water bath is essential.
Totally non-negotiable. The steam acts as a highly efficient gaseous delivery system.
The steam is the vehicle.
Yes. When water turns to steam, it expands incredibly rapidly, right? It fills the entire volume of that Faraday cage. And as it expands, it carries those vaporized D-limone molecules and citric acid compounds into every single tiny vent and microscopic scratch in the plastic.
It goes where the sponge can't reach.
Exactly. Furthermore, the steam itself provides thermodynamics.
Oh, getting fancy with the physics now.
Well, the latent heat of the water vapor physically rehydrates that hardened, crusty food matrix we talked about. It softens the physical structure of the grease, so the D-limone can actually penetrate and break those lipid bonds.
Ah, so when the source emphasizes leaving the door closed for a few minutes after the microwave stops, they're giving that citrus-infused steam the necessary time to actually sink into the grease and do the demolition work.
You've got it.
You are essentially creating a highly acidic, grease-dissolving sauna for your leftover slatters.
A grease-dissolving sauna. That is the perfect way to visualize it. You are letting the chemistry happen without having to use any actual elbow grease yourself.
I love the elegance of that. It's bright, it's refreshing, and it handles your everyday, run-of-the-mill odors.
It's the perfect maintenance clean.
But let's escalate things. Let's talk about the scenarios where a lemon sauna simply is not going to cut it. I'm talking about the truly offensive, persistent smells.
The nightmare scenarios.
Yeah, the office break room war crimes, the reheated fish. For that level of biological warfare, we need to bypass the fruit bowl entirely and reach for the pantry's heavy hitter.
Yeah. When you are dealing with profound, stubborn odors, you really have to bring out the big guns. And in the realm of natural cleaning chemistry, that heavy artillery is white vinegar.
White vinegar. Okay, so the source outlines a method from Ashley Matuska-Kidder. She's the founder and CEO of Dashing Maids and Mountains of Laundry.
Great company name.
Right. Her baseline method involves filling a microwave-safe bowl with mostly water and adding just 1 to 2 tablespoons of white vinegar.
Pretty mild.
Yeah, you microwave that for about 4 minutes, let the steam do its work, and wipe it clean. But the article also details a solution for smells that absolutely refuse to leave. I'm calling it the nuclear option.
Ah, yes, the deep clean concentration ratio.
Yes. For those impossibly stubborn smells, Sokolowski advises using half a cup of vinegar to 1 cup of water. That is a massive, drastic increase in the concentration of vinegar. You heat that up and let it sit inside with the door closed for a few minutes.
So we really need to dissect why vinegar is the ultimate, unrivaled remedy for the absolute worst offenders. Specifically, we're talking about burnt popcorn and fish.
Please, because I need to understand this.
Okay, white vinegar is essentially a dilute solution of acetic acid. To understand why acetic acid is so powerful, we have to look at the biology and chemistry of the smells themselves.
All right, get me.
Take fish, for example. The reason decomposing or, reheated fish smells so abhorrent to us is due to chemical compounds called amines, specifically trimethylamine or TMA.
Trimethylamine. Is that the specific thing that hits our nose when someone opens the break room microwave?
Yes, that is TMA. TMA is an alkaline or basic compound, and evolutionarily speaking, our olfactory receptors are highly, highly sensitive to amines because they're a byproduct of bacterial decay.
Oh, our body is warning us.
Exactly. Our brains are hardwired to detect even microscopic amounts of TMA and register it as danger, do not eat this, it's rotting.
Okay, so TMA is basic. It's a base.
Right. It sits on the high end of the pH scale.
And vinegar is acetic acid, which obviously sits on the low end.
Precisely. So this is classic acid-base neutralization at work. When you introduce vaporized acetic acid from the steam into an enclosed space filled with alkaline trimethylamine molecules, an aggressive chemical reaction occurs.
Like they fight each other in the air.
Pretty much. The acid physically interacts with the amine molecule, donates a proton to it, and actually transforms it into an entirely different chemical compound, usually an odorless salt.
Wait. I want to make sure I'm picturing this correctly. The vinegar isn't just, like, floating in the air next to the fish smell, acting like a strong perfume to distract my nose.
Not at all.
It is literally hunting down the fish molecules and changing their physical structure so they aren't fish molecules anymore.
That is the exact mechanism. The molecule that your brain recognizes as disgusting, rotting fish literally ceases to exist.
That is wild.
I know. It has been chemically converted into a non-volatile salt that just falls out of the air. It can no longer enter your nasal passages.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about the other major offender? Burnt popcorn. There's no fishy trimethylamine in popcorn, but that smell can linger in a microwave for weeks. Why does the half-cup vinegar method work on that?
Right. Burnt popcorn is a different beast entirely. When you overcook popcorn, you are causing a severe Maillard reaction that tips over into pyrolysis.
Pyrolysis, like actual burning.
Actual burning. And this releases hundreds of volatile organic compounds, including one called diacetyl, but more importantly, it creates smoke-based particulate matter.
Like ash.
Essentially microscopic particles of carbon and tar that physically embed themselves into the plastic walls of the microwave.
Oh, gross. So the microwave is basically stained with campfire smoke.
Yes, but it's a greasy campfire smoke because it's bound with the hot oils from the popcorn.
Oh, that's why it sticks so badly.
Exactly. So the intense acidity of that half cup of vinegar acts as a powerful solvent that cuts straight through the lipid layer, binding those carbon particles to the walls. It breaks the grip of the tar.
It melts it away. But we really have to address the sensory elephant in the room here.
The smell of the vinegar itself.
Yeah. Vinegar works miracles, but it smells incredibly strong. It is pungent, it's sharp, it's aggressive. I've always thought of vinegar like a bouncer at a nightclub.
A bouncer. I like that.
Yeah. It might be abrasive, it might be loud, and it's definitely going to make its presence known the second it walks in the room. But it is exactly the person you need to call to forcefully kick out the most obnoxious, ruinous guests, which in this case are the fish and smoke odors.
I love the bouncer analogy because it highlights the mechanism perfectly. The bouncer chemically alters the shape of the obnoxious guest, rendering them harmless, and physically removes them from the club.
Right.
But, as you pointed out, once the obnoxious guests are gone, You still have a giant, intimidating bouncer standing in the middle of your kitchen.
Exactly. Which is exactly why the source material provides a crucial caveat here. They advise that if you use the vinegar method, you absolutely must ventilate the area or leave the microwave door open afterward to let the vinegar smell dissipate.
You have to vent it.
The bouncer's done his job, now you just need to open the front door, let him walk out, and clear the room.
And the great advantage of acetic acid over commercial air fresheners is its volatility. While vinegar is initially really pungent, it evaporates incredibly quickly and cleanly.
So it doesn't just hang around forever.
No, as it dissipates into the air, the smell completely vanishes. It doesn't linger and leave a sickly, sweet, synthetic floral residue. It does its chemical demolition work and then it leaves.
Which is exactly the kind of uncompromised clean we want in our homes.
Right.
We want the heavy lifting done naturally, leaving absolutely nothing behind but a fresh space. And, speaking of getting the absolute best, most effective clean without leaving behind a trace of dirt or odor.
Here we go.
Just like you want the best natural methods to keep your kitchen appliances fresh, you want the absolute best for your home's floors. Take a quick break from your kitchen deep cleaning and visit Kindeke Carpet Cleaning on Google to get your carpets looking and smelling just as fresh as your newly steamed microwave.
Because applying the right specialized techniques to the right environments is how you maintain a truly healthy living space.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've explored the bright, terpene-powered clean of the lemon, and we've deployed the heavy-duty acid-neutralizing bouncer of the vinegar.
We have.
But we need to address a third scenario. What if you were someone who is acutely sensitive to the smell of vinegar? What if the idea of even a temporary vinegar scent in your kitchen is a total deal breaker?
Some people really hate it.
Right, you don't even want the bouncer in the building. Fortunately, there is a third, completely odorless hero hiding in your pantry right now. Baking soda.
Yes. Baking soda. This is our third major approach. And from a scientific standpoint, it operates on a fundamentally different principle than the steam delivery systems we just discussed.
How so?
Well, we are moving from active gas phase chemistry to solid-state molecular trapping.
Solid-state molecular trapping.
Yeah.
Okay, the source outlines a few different ways to deploy baking soda. Let's look at the active method first.
Sure.
They suggest mixing 2 tablespoons of baking soda with 1 cup of warm water in a microwave-safe bowl. You microwave it on high for 2 to 3 minutes, let it sit inside for 10 to 15 minutes, and then wipe with a damp cloth.
Pretty standard.
But then they introduce what I would call passive and paste methods.
Yes. Kidder suggests a remarkably passive approach, where you simply leave a small ball of dry baking soda inside the microwave overnight. No water, no heat, just time and ambient exposure.
I love the lazy option. And then there's the paste method, where you mix baking soda and water into a thick paste and literally coat the interior walls of the microwave.
Right.
Now wait, I'm picturing this in my head and my internal hazard alarm is going off.
It should be.
Smearing a gritty, wet paste all over the inside of a complex electrical appliance sounds inherently risky. It sounds like a great way to ruin a microwave. Is there a catch to this paste method?
Your hazard alarm is entirely justified, and the source material is very careful to issue a critical warning about this exact technique. If you opt for the paste route, you absolutely must exercise extreme precision to avoid all vents, seams, and openings inside the cavity.
Because if that gritty paste gets into the internal machinery?
It can be catastrophic for the appliance. Microwaves operate using a component called a magnetron, which generates the microwaves.
Right, the engine, basically.
Yeah, and these waves enter the cooking cavity through a small opening covered by what is called a waveguide cover. It's usually a little rectangular piece of mica or plastic on the inner wall.
I've always wondered what that little cardboard-looking square was.
That's the waveguide cover. If you smear baking soda paste over it, or if it gets lodged inside the ventilation grates and dries into a hard crust, it can actually block the microwaves or cause severe arcing and sparking when you turn the machine on.
Arcing. You're basically building a little conductive rock inside the electrical components.
Precisely. So the source emphasizes that if you use the paste to tackle, say, a specific horrific stain on the wall, it requires a meticulous, exhaustive cleanout before you ever hit the start button again. You cannot leave a single granule of residue behind.
Okay, so the paste is highly effective for spot treatments, but requires immense vigilance. Let's pivot back to the passive method because I find that fascinating.
About overnight bowl.
Yeah, you just put a bowl of white powder in the microwave overnight and the smells vanish. What is actually happening in the dark while we sleep?
This is where we get into some truly elegant chemistry. Sokolowski explains that baking soda is a natural odor absorber that traps acidic and basic molecules that contribute to smells.
It traps them. It doesn't neutralize them like the vinegar.
Well, it does both, actually. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. In chemistry, sodium bicarbonate is known as an amphoteric substance.
Photeric.
Yes. The root of that word, amphi, means both, like amphibian. An amphoteric substance is essentially a chemical chameleon. It has the unique ability to react as either an acid or a base, depending on what it encounters in its environment.
That feels like a superpower, so it literally reads the room and adapts.
Exactly. Let's go back to our earlier examples. If your microwave smells like sour, spoiled milk, those odor molecules are acidic lactic acid.
Right.
The baking soda will act as a base to neutralize them. But if your microwave smells like reheated fish, those amine molecules are basic. The baking soda will flip its behavior, act as an acid, and neutralize them.
So for the person standing in their kitchen confused by the smells of 100 different meals layered on top of each other, baking soda is the universal translator.
It is a universal trap. Unlike commercial aerosol sprays that just shoot synthetic fragrance droplets into the air to confuse your olfactory receptors, while the bad molecules are still floating around.
Just masking the garbage.
Right. Baking soda physically pulls the offending molecules out of the air. It binds them into its own crystalline structure.
Oh, wow.
Once those volatile odor molecules are chemically bound to the sodium bicarbonate, they are locked in. They cannot float out of the bowl and into your nose.
It's like a silent, odorless sponge that just sits there in the dark, soaking up the atmospheric history of your bad microwave meals.
That's a great visualization. It creates a localized drop in the concentration of odor molecules in the air, which naturally draws more molecules out of the plastic walls through diffusion and traps them right there in the bowl.
That is genuinely incredible. And this brings us to a vital turning point in our deep dive. Steaming the microwave with lemon, or bombing it with vinegar, or trapping the molecules overnight with baking soda is really only half the battle.
Only half.
Right. Because the chemistry has done the heavy lifting. The steam has broken the lipid bonds. The acids have neutralized the amines. But now, you have to execute the physics. You have to finish the job.
You have to physically remove the biological matter from the environment.
Yes. Which leads us to method number 4. The crucial follow-through. The physical clean. The source details specific final steps that you absolutely cannot skip if you want this to work.
Oh, what do they recommend?
First, you remove the glass turntable and its little wheeled track, and you wash them separately in the sink with dish soap.
Simple enough.
Then you wipe the walls, the ceiling, and the door with a damp microfiber cloth. And they specifically emphasize paying special attention to the corners and rubber seals where splatters naturally collect and hide.
The psychology of this step is profound, honestly. It is the dividing line between a perfunctory surface-level chore and a true appliance reset. The source explicitly notes that these final physical steps make the difference between a microwave that smells okay and one that smells truly fresh.
Because if you don't physically wipe the walls, the garbage is still in the box.
Exactly. Let's think about what the steam actually did. The steam rehydrated the hardened matrix. The dilimone, or the acetic acid, broke the bonds, holding the grease to the plastic.
It loosened everything up.
Right. It killed the surface bacteria and neutralized the top layer of odor molecules. But the physical mass of the food, the fat, the proteins, the carbon, is still sitting there on the wall. It's just in a softer, looser state.
So if you just open the door, say, wow, it smells like lemons in here, and walk away, what happens the next time you turn the microwave on to heat up a burrito?
You immediately bake that loosened, softened layer of fat right back onto the plastic. You repolymerize it. Removing the loosened residue means removing the physical engine generating the odor.
Makes sense.
And the specific recommendation of a microfiber cloth is not an accident, by the way.
I was actually going to ask about that. Why not just grab a wad of paper towels? I feel like that's what everyone does.
Paper towels or even standard cotton dishcloths are relatively smooth at a microscopic level. When you drag them across softened grease, they tend to just smear it around, creating a thin, invisible film of fat over the entire surface.
Oh, so you're just spreading the mess out.
Yeah. Microfiber, on the other hand, is engineered differently. The synthetic fibers are split during the manufacturing process, creating millions of microscopic crevices and hooks.
So the cloth is actually grabbing the fat.
Yes. Through a combination of those physical microhooks and weak electrostatic forces called van der Waals forces, the microfiber literally scoops up the loosened grease and holds onto it within the fabric. It lifts it completely off the wall rather than just relocating it.
It's the physical removal that brings the whole chemical process home, which transitions us perfectly into the final piece of the puzzle, preventing future disasters.
The most important part.
Because once you've gone through the chemistry and physics of getting your microwave smelling like absolute nothing, you want to protect that pristine environment.
Prevention is universally vastly superior to remediation. It takes less time, less effort, and it spares you the olfactory trauma.
The daily habits outlined by the cleaning professionals here are so beautifully simple, but they make all the difference.
Run through them for us.
First, use a microwave safe cover. Just physically block the soup from exploding onto the ceiling.
So simple.
Second, don't overcook your food. It sounds obvious, but burnt food equals burnt smells. Third, leave the microwave door open for a few minutes after heating your food to vent the steam and humidity, rather than slamming it shut and trapping the moisture.
It's a great habit to build.
And finally, wipe down the interior daily with a warm, damp cloth, even if it looks completely clean.
That last point is arguably the most vital, even if it looks clean. Our eyes deceive us when it comes to aerosolized fats. By the time you can visibly see a crusty brown splatter on the wall of your microwave, there are already millions of microscopic, odor-causing particles that have polymerized onto the entire interior surface.
The visible splatter is just the tip of the iceberg. I look at this entire maintenance routine, like going to the dentist. Using the deep lemon steam delivery system or calling in the heavy-hitting vinegar bouncer method we talked about earlier, that is your biannual scaling and deep clean at the dentist's office. They are bringing out the tools to scrape away the heavy calcified buildup.
Right.
But using a microwave cover, leaving the door open to vent, and doing a quick daily wipe down with a microfiber cloth, that is brushing and flossing. You have to do the daily microscopic maintenance at home so things don't get out of hand and require painful, aggressive chemical interventions later.
The dental analogy works perfectly. If you brush and floss diligently every single day, the deep clean is a breeze. It takes 5 minutes. If you cover your food and vent the door, the lemon steam only takes a few minutes, and your kitchen remains a pristine, pleasant environment.
So as we step back and look at the whole picture, what have we really learned today about tackling this incredibly universal kitchen annoyance?
I think the journey we've taken through these sources proves something really empowering about the spaces we live in. We do not need to resort to harsh, industrial, volatile, toxic chemicals in the exact enclosed spaces where we prepare the food we put into our bodies.
We really don't.
Our kitchens are already stocked with incredibly powerful, scientifically sophisticated natural tools. We have the dual-action terpene solvents and acids of lemons. We have the heavy-duty amine neutralizing breakdown power of acetic acid and vinegar. And we have the silent amphoteric molecular trapping ability of sodium bicarbonate.
It turns out we've had an entire chemistry lab sitting next to the toaster this whole time.
We have.
I am honestly so excited for everyone listening to try these hacks. They're incredibly simple. They cost literally pennies. They're completely natural. And you can walk into your kitchen right now while you're listening to this and completely transform the smell of your microwave in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It is instant gratification.
It is accessible, everyday chemistry that tangibly improves your daily life.
And remember, for a deeper clean in the rest of your home, make sure to visit Kindeke Carpet Cleaning on Google. You want the floors of your house matching that pristine, naturally clean energy you just brought to your kitchen.
You know, as we wrap up our analysis of these sources, this whole discussion leaves me with a much broader thought to ponder.
Oh, I like a broad thought. Lay it on me.
We spend so much time and energy talking about how to clean this one small enclosed metal box in our kitchen, but it makes you consider how many other enclosed spaces in our homes, and maybe even in our lives, our routines, our mental habits, are just silently accumulating the unseen residue of the past.
Oh,
Right. The lingering polymerized effects of old mistakes, old messes, or stressful moments that we just closed the door on and ignored. Perhaps all those spaces need is a little natural steam, some daily venting, and a good intentional wipe down to feel truly fresh again.
Wow. A little profound life philosophy courtesy of the kitchen appliance. I absolutely love that perspective. Thank you for listening to the 5 Natural Ways to Eliminate Stubborn Microwave Odors, from burnt popcorn to fish without harsh chemicals podcast.